freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round one recap for this week's Open Championship. Joining me to break it all down, Kyle Porter is here. KP, hello.
Hello, Rick. We got a new setup.
Josh has been messing around with the layouts, which
I like it.
I like it too. Yeah,
I need to scoot closer. You need to scoot back. You look like a bigger human than me.
We've got to figure out I could do this. This is like a little bit better, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, there we go.
All right, now we're rocking and rolling.
Yeah,
he also,
perfect.
You'll notice when he shows the scorecards, there's probably a different layout there too. He's improvements. We are never done around here.
Yeah, he's always working on his game. He's always grinding. It's great.
15 hours of golf. I think round 2 tee times are starting right now. Is that right?
I'm tired. What time did you get up? Did you go to bed?
I did.
Okay.
I woke up at 1, which was the Spieth group. So when that group went off, I was up. Okay.
I was up at like same thing, but my time. So it was like 3 something. Right. I don't feel horrible, but I've definitely felt it's usually Friday that it gets you. Friday early evening is like it's a mess.
3 hours ago, I felt horrible. I think I've caught my second wind now.
Okay.
But it is not. This is not a PGA Tour 10-1. Everybody off 1. What is it? 11-minute tee time. It just takes forever.
It does. I think. Do I want it every week? No. I like it for majors. Like I think the rhythm of it is. It's cool. It provides. I don't when it's 10-1. There's just not a good rhythm to that. You can't. It seems like it's harder to follow guys' rounds, right? And so when you get everybody out the first, there's just a rhythm to it that you don't normally get that I absolutely love. So
and
this board's fascinating.
You experience it. If you have the daylight, you might as well use it. There's only so many places you can even try to pull off 15 hours of golf in a single day. And July,
yeah, you could. Well, I was gonna say you do it at Augusta because you have such a small field, right? You could probably do it at the US. So I don't know if you could. It would be. They certainly couldn't this year with the times that they started at. They couldn't even do it with 80 guys or 70.
Boy, certainly could not. Well, before we jump into this leaderboard, because it is fascinating, let's talk about the golf course. Played about 2.25 shots over par, did Royal Liverpool and KP. This was like the nicest conditions they could have gotten, right? And it's still beat these guys up a little bit.
Yeah. I gotta say, it's sort of hard to like segment out all the open courses, right? They just sort of they don't run together. I remember them distinctly, but this course was awesome today.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't crazy windy. It wasn't super firm. It was pretty green. And yet I felt like it still had a lot of defense to it. You had to, like, you could go, this is the thing I loved about it, Rick, is you could go out and if you avoid all the bunkers and you hit not impossible shots, but just very good golf shots, you got to hit like 65 very good golf shots though. You can shoot 65. But if you have 2 mistakes or 3 mistakes, you can shoot 74. Like I loved it felt like somebody said, I think, coach said that I didn't see Emiliano Grillo afterwards, but coach said on HQ that Emiliano Grillo said you can make bogey on every hole.
Yeah, I heard him say that
very easily. And I think that's everybody always says that, but I think that's more true here than it normally is at major championships.
Well, just think about what's lurking, right? You've got, that thick rough. You're dependent on lie. Very easy to make a bogey that way. If you find a bunker, you're almost certainly making bogey. That is both off the tee and on your approach shots. If you are short-sighted, you are almost certainly making bogey. I mean, there's just a lot. There are a lot of ways to do it in every facet of the game. So even if you are hitting every single fairway. That does not make you immune to a big number because there's a lot of other crap that can get you in trouble.
Well, let me ask you this. Speaking of crap that can get you in trouble, I think one of the things that I love about places like St. Andrews and even LACC, and this is a double-edged sword, because the thing I love about those places is it's wide open. You can play those golf courses in a bunch of different ways. You can hit a bunch of different kinds of shots, but when it is wide open with modern technology, it becomes easier to overpower places like that, as we've seen at the Open last year and the US Open this year. Did you feel like there was enough variability in terms of the kinds of shots guys were hit, or I guess the ways guys were playing these different holes?
Yeah, right. So even early in the morning, I was impressed with, or I was interested to see how many guys were laying back and then who was pulling driver. So like Wyndham Clark, I think, pulled driver everywhere, right? And he goes out and shoots a 3 under 68, spoiler alert. We'll get to him in a second. But a lot of guys were laying back. Rory kind of looked like he started laying back a little bit. Then he started pulling driver in some more spots. So yeah, it gives you a lot of options. What I think is very different about this championship and this golf course, maybe compared to like LA, I thought LACC was very, very fair, right? Like if you hit a great shot, you were generally rewarded. If you hit a bad shot, you were generally punished. It's not necessarily the case here. It's not super unfair, but like where the ball lays in the bunker, 6 inches in either direction could be multiple shots. And I'm okay with that because it's like inherently random and inherently unfair for everybody. So maybe it evens itself out, but there is definitely a more random, unfair nature to pot bunkers alone at this championship.
Yeah, there is. I think I'm okay with that. It maybe doesn't play into the meritocracy,
but it's also not a surprise, right? Like it's not. So there are some golf courses where, you know, you could have two guys hit very different shots and get similar results. This is like, if you're in that bunker, you're probably pretty screwed, right? Like it's not like one guy's going to get a really weird kick and one guy's not. It's just like, it's a known entity though.
It's a known entity in that, like, you know where the bunker is. Is that what you're saying?
Like the stuff that's really going to be unfair, you know what that is. Like it's the bunkers, right? And
yeah.
And that's kind of the problem. If you want it to be very fair, don't hit in the bunker.
Yeah, I think the argument against that, and I actually want producer Josh to come in and explain his position because he had a take on this, but I think the argument against that, and I heard somebody talk. Oh, I heard the Shotgun Star Boys talking about this. Brennan Porath and Andy Johnson. Apparently, Scheffler said, like, listen, if you hit a better shot than somebody else and it rolls backward into the bunker versus somebody hitting it worse and it enters the front part of the bunker, you get more screwed as the person who hit the better shot, quote unquote.
Yeah, sure. I get that.
And so it's not like a linear rewarding system, if that makes sense.
But better is also like, how much better was it? Like,
yes,
3 inches better. You know what I mean? Like mine went in the front edge of the bunker. Yours went 3 feet further to the face of the bunker. Cool.
Well, I think it's so interesting because it's going to be such a test, and it already is such a test of these bunkers are like, I mean, how many guys did we see facing the other way out of the bunkers? They're almost like little mini water hazards.
Well, this is what we talked about on Tuesday, right? There are a lot more single shot penalties that are not, you know, we haven't seen in a lot of other places like St. Andrews or whatever, right? It's basically a water hazard.
Yeah. And so I guess my point with that is like, it's going to really reward guys that play. And this is perfect, right? I think this is why I love the golf course. It's going to reward guys that play really smart, but also pick their spots and take some chances and hit the shots. And so it's not one or the other. It's really a combination of the two. And I think our TPC Sawgrass comp is like, it's a really weird comp, and I don't know if it actually works, but in that sense, I think there is a little TPC Sawgrass in it, right? That's a place where it's not water everywhere, but man, there's a lot of hazards around there that you have to hit the shots, but also mentally, keep your head and be really smart. So I think it's the last thing I was going to say about compared to LACC, like places like that in St. Andrews, they have variability going this way. With this almost is more of a length variability where you can choose, like think about 3, think about 18. You can almost choose how far somewhere else. Solly was tweeting about this, maybe 16, the par 5. You can choose how far back you want to be or how far up you want to go, which is such a weird, like that doesn't happen a lot of different places. So I thought that part was super interesting. Josh, you want to explain your pot bunker take?
Yeah. So I was very specific about green side pot bunkers.
Caveats everywhere.
Yeah.
But that it says green side in the text, and that was intentional because, right, fairway pot bunkers, you don't want to go in them, then hit a club that goes over it, or hit a club that's not going to get there.
Okay.
I mean, the text was prompted by Rory's 2-iron on 18. 280, you hit, I mean, a 2-iron that I've never seen anybody else hit before. I mean, that thing was a rocket, and you are 25 feet left of the pen on a par 5, and you have to basically go backwards. I'm just like, I just feel like we're towing the line between unfair and challenging, but I guess it's unfair for everybody.
But in defense of the golf course, it's not like he didn't know that pot bunker was there. I heard him talking about this afterwards. He's like, it would have been hard to walk away with 6 after the 2 shots that I hit. So he referenced that the shot that you're talking about. It's not like he didn't know it was there, though. You can choose to hit 4-iron and then try to chip something in and make a 4, right?
I guess. I just think that's a 6 shot, and I didn't think it deserved to have to be played out backwards. If you hit it into, I mean, picking air, but if you hit it into a pot bunker on the fairway, I mean, I guess it's the same thing. But
are you advocating for getting rid of greenside pot bunkers?
I'm advocating for like the gradient of the pot bunkers around greens to be just a little less extreme, so that you can like hit a crazy good shot and get out of it. But from where he was, there's not a shot possible.
But he also, I mean, here's the thing though, like he laid back off the tee, right? So he chose to take less risk off the tee because he didn't want to challenge the right side, which just introduced more risk from 280 going into one of those 2 or 3. I think there's 3 bunkers there on the left side. So I hear you. I think it is like if that was a par 3 from 280, like we saw it. Was there one at LACC? Oakmont for sure. I think LACC had one.
Had 2 300-yard par 3s.
Yeah, like I hear you, but I think because it's a par 5 and because there's different ways to play the hole, it doesn't. I don't know. Like, take more risk off the tee if that's what you want to do, and try to go for it and make 3 there.
Sure. I'm also just emotionally invested in Rory winning this golf tournament, so I was disappointed.
No explanation needed here. We'll get to him.
We will get to him. We'll get to the top of the leaderboard here first. Let's see. A South African, an Englishman, and an Argentine walk into an Open Championship, KP, and they come out first-round leaders. 3-way lead at the top, 66.
Well, I mean, listen, this is going to be a leaderboard. This is going to be a Wikipedia leaderboard that we look back on in 5 years and think like, what?
Yep.
What? I mean, the leaderboard's insane. I don't know if we have it, but if we could pull it up, just the top 10 is, I mean, it's open leaderboards are always a little bit weird, either early or after round 1, or even into, I think about 2015 at St. Andrews when Paul Dunn led after 54 holes. And you're like, what? Like, is what is happening here? So there's a little bit. I think this is a good place to play the like, what's the real lead game? And I think it still is 5 because the King of England is up there, but there's a lot of things happening around the top of that leaderboard that if I'm Scheffler, Koepka, Rory, Hovland, those guys that are 4 or 5 back, I'm like, okay, this is I'm closer to the top than it looks like right now.
The man who got in first at 66, Christo Lamprecht. Yeah, as we all suspected. Who is this guy? Who is Christo? Well, 1 KP, he's an amateur. 2 KP, he's 6'8".
He's a monster. He looks like Hudson Swafford like grew a foot.
He looks like if Matt Kuchar and Sasquatch had a child.
Wow. Yeah.
And 3 KP, he's a twice All-American at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, he won the amateur. Obviously a good amateur player. I don't know. His swing is bizarre, right? And he generates extraordinary speed from it. And I think this is
a shot yesterday. Sorry, on Wednesday. Ball speed was like 192. Like he can just absolutely. I mean, as you can imagine, if you can torque it at that frame, you can move it.
Well, that's what I remember Bryson saying. Like, hey, the thing that I can't do is like grow myself, which is
yet.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of time until he turns 130. So maybe we'll figure it out by then. But this is essentially what he was referencing, right? Was the ability to generate ball speed when you're 6'8" that you just can't when you're 5'8". Now, there's a lot of downside to that, and this guy's figured out how to control it a little bit. But I thought it was cool, man. I think it's cool when amateurs thrive when they do well at the Open Championship or the Masters or the U.S. Open. I think there's just it's a very cool thing that, you know, what other sport could this happen? You know, I was talking, not to make this too long, but my wife was just aghast that the top players in the Major League Baseball draft don't go straight to the majors. She's like, I don't understand that. Doesn't that happen in every other sport?
She's right.
Which is a great point, right? But I get like my point here is like even the best amateur baseball player in the world can't even play with the pros, and this guy who's a decent amateur can lead the Open. It's pretty cool, and I think it speaks to just the meritocracy of the game in general.
Also in at 66 is Tommy Ladd. A little bit of a disappointing Sunday or a little bit of a disappointing weekend at the Scottish Open. He is looking for immediate revenge in the form of a claret jug, one of the more popular betting options for this week. Tommy goes out in 34. That's 1 under. Then he kicked it into gear on his second 9 with birdies on 11, 14, 15, and 16 KP. Here we go again.
Yeah, great round. Was it a 66 worthy? I don't know. He hit 225 footers, right? So that's why it was a 66. But if you're hitting it at a 67, 68 number, like if that's how your tee to green game is essentially throughout the week, you're probably going to win. And I think the thing about him over the next 3 days is not physical, but mental, because he's not won a major. This is going to be a really emotional major. Being in England, it's already been emotional. It's hard to lead for 3 of 4 days or all 4 days or whatever it ends up being. I just think he's going to have the battle, to me, is going to be emotional and mental more so than physical. And that's going to be fascinating because he's flushing it right now. Like it's so good. It's everything you want from Tommy, and it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch him try to fight himself to win his first major championship.
Yeah, and he gets the long turnaround time. He is out at like 2:48 local on Friday or something like that. So he's got some time to think about what a claret jug would mean for him. And then the end of the day, KP, Emiliano Grillo snaps his name into this conversation by shooting a 31 on the second 9, including birdies on 17 and 18. He got off to a real rough start. He was 2 over through 3, and then he did that interview with Cara Banks afterwards, and you mentioned it. He said, hey, I can, hit I can make a bogey on any hole out here. It's lurking everywhere. He rolled in like a 50-footer on 18 that he said he was just trying to put a cap on his rounds and get out of here. And lo and behold, it drops. And now he has got a share of the Open Championship lead heading into the second round.
Yeah, probably round of the day, right? Considering I think it was a stroke harder in the afternoon. Is that right? Or half a stroke? Or
it was about a full stroke. Yeah, full stroke harder.
Okay. So probably the round of the day.
Yeah.
And he was 2 over through 3, which is crazy. He played a really amazing back 9. And I got to be honest, I didn't see a ton of his round late in the day. I was exhausted and I was on HQ like all afternoon and there was a lot going on, but I don't know. Like, do you think, I guess I'll throw this back at you. Do you think Emiliano Grillo do you think he is capable of winning a major championship?
No, I do not.
Okay. I kind of don't either. And I think you could say that about a lot of these guys in the top 15 right now, right?
It is not a knock on Emiliano Grillo. It is the nature of the beast. 72 holes, the cream rises to the top. It's very difficult. And even the best players in the world go long stretch. Rory McIlroy has gone 9 years without a major championship. I don't know how many major cracks Emiliano Grillo is going to get in his career, but it might equal the 9, it might be 36. It might be 40 alone in his career. It's so hard. And the stars would have to align with another set of stars from a different solar system for this to happen.
I mean, it could, right? Like anybody on the field could win, but
I get they could, but
I'm with you. It's I don't know. We're going to talk about a lot of guys in this top 10 that I don't really feel like have a chance to win the golf tournament, which is interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Hit a couple of notables here in the early wave. Then we can circle back, especially when we get to the betting side about the top of this board here. Jordan Spieth went out early, and honestly, he was 2 under through 7, KP, and I thought he played better than that. And then things got Spiethian, and he made a double on 8, and makes bogey on 18. Like the whole thing was just pure Spieth at an Open Championship.
Yeah, I was watching with one of my buddies. Actually came over at like 5 a.m. this morning just to watch, which was fun and weird, and I don't know. Opens are insane, but we were watching, and Spieth was dropping. The whole what happened on 8 was bizarre because he didn't take an unplayable, which is what I thought at first. He hit a ball. I think he hit the hosel, turned around and said, "Did anybody see it?" And then just dropped within a couple minutes. Like there was no. I don't even know where the ball is. Like I don't know if he knows where I'll read his quote afterwards. He said, "I just had my face wide open. This is on 8, ball above my feet on a really bad lie, trying to flop cut an 8-iron. Sure,
yeah. No
I feel like I'm as good as anybody at that shot. Sure."
Yeah.
And I guess the hosel got there first. I'm not really sure. That shakes you up a little bit. I've never hit one before.
Impossible.
So it took me do what?
He is trying to imply he has never shanked a golf ball before.
I that's what it reads like. I don't know. So it took me a couple holes to feel like I got my feet back under me. But then
I agree. I mean, yeah, I agree that I agree that it was a weird, jarring scenario. I think there's no way he's never hit a shank before. And also, yeah, it all happened quite quickly. And I don't know. I mean, outside of that really bizarre kind of I thought he was pretty good.
He was good. And shame, you know what? Shame on, I'm going to mea culpa time. Shame on me for doubting Jordan Spieth at an Open, because I went on HQ last night and I said that Spieth at plus 240 to miss the cut was interesting.
Nice.
I didn't say it was interesting. I said it was a good bet because I'm an idiot. And that's on me. So I don't deserve Spieth to contend here, but it still looks like he's going to.
Well, I mean, honestly, no, he might go out and shoot a 78 tomorrow. I don't think you have to do like the mea culpa yet. Like, there's a chance that this thing goes very wrong for him.
Well, the thing that I don't understand, Rick, and this gets back to the golf course. He talked about this. A lot of guys talked about this. Wyndham Clark talked about it. I think Brooks talked about it. It's really sort of strategic off the tee, where all three of those guys talked about these crosswinds. They hit the ball off the tee, and that does not scream Spieth, right? Like strategic off the tee, and Spieth even said this. He's like, this is a little bit more like, I don't think he said American golf, but it's up in the air golf as opposed to other opens because of these kind of raised greens or a little bit elevated greens. So none of like the way that this course sets up really screams Spieth to me. I know other people think that maybe it does a little bit more, but I don't know. He's just, it's almost like a sports law of nature that he's going to play well at Open Championships.
Well, we will keep an eye out on Jordan Spieth on Friday because I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. Let's keep an eye on Scottie Scheffler. Josh, do we know what Scottie did today? Scottie Scheffler back at it again. He was phenomenal from tee to green, but struggled with the putter. But no surprise, he's in contention for a victory.
Evergreen.
11th off the tee, 12th on approach, 5th in total strokes gained, 129th with the flat stick. One of the first shots I saw, I think it was one of the first shots I saw, he was lining up a 4-footer, and I said, oh man, he's going to miss this. And he did not sniff the cup. Didn't sniff it.
It was almost like two balls left. It was like a pull hook putt.
Didn't he try a new putter like 3 months ago for 2 rounds?
Yeah. Was it this year or was it in the fall?
I don't know.
I looked this up recently and I can't. Yeah, CJ Cup. There we go. That's when he finished That's the last time he finished outside the top 12. So there you go.
Sick, man.
Listen, like Scheffler is in the Koepka zone where he's in it. It's not inconceivable that Scottie Scheffler is leading this golf tournament on Saturday night. I thought after he was 2 under through 4, 5, 6, I was like, okay, he's gonna shoot a 65. This is gonna be the week where he makes everything he looks at. He hits a couple 28 footers, and it's Vince.gif. And then he just, even worse than the short putts, I thought his lag putting was not great.
Yeah,
like he had a couple of lag putts that you're like, oh, that's. Rory was kind of the same. It's so vital at this tournament to have good speed, and I didn't think his speed was that good.
Yeah, his speed was pretty stinky on Thursday. But Scottie Scheffler's 1 under. He's in at 70, lead at 5 under. Let's see. There was more notables from the front here. Let's do 2 more. Hat tip to Wyndham Clark, because Wyndham Clark is a machine. I thought he was obviously I didn't see every single golfer today, but I thought he was the most aggressive golfer I saw off the tee. Every time I looked up, he was whipping driver around there somewhere. Played the front 9 in even, played the back at 3 under, and Wyndham Clark is 2 shots off the lead, looking for his 2nd major championship of the year.
It's big boy stuff. I mean, it's one thing to go win a major and then to follow it with this in your first major round after winning that major. It's super impressive, man. Real quick, a mea culpa here as well. I've just got mea culpas all over the yard. On our Tuesday pod, I said only 4 guys have won the U.S. Open and Open Championship. That was egregiously wrong. It wasn't even close.
Well, the worst part is the first thing out of our mouths was, okay, so Tiger's got one. Nope.
Yeah. And he does. Obviously, he did it in 2000. The Wikipedia page, I was looking in one spot, but they had some in a different spot. It was completely my fault. So real quick, Bobby Jones in 1926, Bobby Jones again in 1930 when he won the Slam, Gene Sarazen in 1932. I think I said Walter Hagen, so I messed that part up too. Ben Hogan, 1953. I missed that one. Forgot about that. He won the Masters, the U.S. Open, and the Open. He was unable to play in the PGA because the Open and the PGA dates overlapped, and his ship wouldn't get back to the U.S. in time.
You are kidding me.
Very normal stuff.
Oh, my God.
So Jones twice, Sarazen, Hogan, Lee Trevino in 1971, Tom Watson 1982, and then the Cat in 2000. So that's the group. It doesn't make it, it's certainly still an extraordinary list. It doesn't make it less of a list. There's just more guys on it than I insinuated. So apologies.
Well, Wyndham Clark trying to add his name to that list here in the next couple of days. Finally, out of the morning wave, Rickie Fowler shoots a 1/72. That was honestly, KP, going pretty swimmingly until he got to 18, where he found the OB up the right, not once, but twice, and cards a triple bogey 8. As they say, that does not make dinner taste very well.
We saw did you see the shots? They finally showed them.
No, I didn't. I only saw the shot tracker.
Okay. They finally showed the shots, a replay of the shots on delay. It was after he finished his round. I don't understand the shots that he hit, because it wasn't as if he was in the middle of the fairway.
Did he hosel them?
Yeah, I don't know. It had to be adjacent to. I mean, to do that once is like, wow, that's a really bad shot by a pro. To do it twice in a row?
Yes,
they were off the planet.
I mean, right. They're like 60 yards wide from the fairway twice.
Yeah, there's he didn't have any quotes. I think Kevin Van Valkenburg wrote about what happened for no laying up. So I'm going to go read it afterwards. But I would be fascinated to know just what the deal was, because it was extremely bizarre.
Big difference from a 2-under 69 being a tie for 13th and a 1/72 in a tie for 48th in two swipes at it.
Okay, so he said, this is from No Laying Up. People should go read the story by KVV on Fowler. Obviously pissed off, but nothing I can do about it now. Just had a bit of a hanging lie from the fairway and caught the first one a little low on the club face. Okay. I was obviously trying to hit a low little hot cut and made poor contact. So that was on the first one. I don't see a quote on the second one, but
same thing on the second one.
Yes, and then I dropped it to another hanging lie and tried to hit another cut. I mean, it does speak to this, Rick. I mean, this was not true at LACC. You can make some numbers around here, but you can also make. I mean, we saw 3 on 18. We saw 10 on 18. I mean, there's some numbers, which is awesome, because it means the tournament's not over until the very last hole on Sunday, which is almost always true. But I mean, like, it's really, really true this week.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love it. Yeah. This course it's doing it for me. It's doing it for me.
I agree
in a big way. So we got more to talk about, including Rory, Rahm, Homa, and someone much further down the board. We'll continue that conversation, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Wake up to football highlights and news from around the world with the one and only Morning Footy team.
Rise and shine, football fans. Welcome to Morning Footy.
Start your all-day football craze with Morning Footy, part of the all-new Golazo Network.
And we're back. Let's hit the biggies here. Rory McIlroy goes out in 36, and KP stands on 13T at 2 over. Gets a little bit of momentum with birdies on 14 and 15 before making what was pretty much that all-world par that we saw on 18 from the front pot bunker. It was a full day from Rory. Lots of good, some not so good, and 71 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I thought the front nine was bad. I think, I mean, I've written about him and this specifically a lot, but I think mentally it's just, Paul Azinger had this great line on the broadcast where he said, hold on, I want to read it because I wrote it down. He said, it's hard to be carefree when you care the most. And I thought that was... It's impossible to measure who cares the most. It's not as if Scottie Scheffler doesn't care, Jon Rahm doesn't care. Those guys care a ton, right? I think Rory cares about history a lot. I think he cares about legacy and his own history and legacy a lot, but just golf legacy and history in general. And the weight of, when you combine the weight of caring with the weight of the drought, it's hard to carry that around mentally, right? And I think, I mean, he looked. Did you watch his front nine?
Yeah, I did.
He looked tight.
Yeah, and it kind of looked. He made a couple of swings that were similar to, I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday at the Scottish, where with that driver. And he has that big right miss. It is almost like he's trying to guide it out there in that tight fashion that you're referring to. And he did that this morning, and I was like, oh man, he's got to get that reeled in, and he started to. But I think that's what I see when you're referring to him being tight.
Yeah, there was no freedom, and it leads to a lot of loose shots. The first two drives he hit, I think he was on 1 and 2, were just like, oh, they weren't off the planet, but they were not. It was a little Portrush-ish. You know, you didn't have the out of bounds on the first hole, but it felt a little. I think here's the upshot, though. The upshot is you get that out of the way, and now theoretically you can just go play, right? Like, you're in the tournament now, you're in the rhythm of it. And it felt like he kind of saved his tournament over those last 7 holes, because you start to get to 1-2 over, and that's probably it. You know, Justin Ray had the stat, nobody's won from more than 5 back in the last 23 opens. So more than 5 back after round 1 in the last 23. So with the caliber of guys ahead of you, including Scheffler, Koepka, Fleetwood, Hovland, like it's going to be very difficult to rebound from it. Now he's in that Koepka zone where, yeah, you can go shoot 66 on Friday or Saturday, and all of a sudden you could be in the final pairing on Sunday.
Yeah, he's bought himself, instead of having to shoot something low on Friday to make the cut or something like that, he has bought himself time to shoot that low round, or to go out and find a little bit of magic, which is kind of what we see at these events.
Yeah. And, you know, I actually thought, I thought he and Koepka played rounds that were very reminiscent of each other. Koepka was not good over his first 9.
Yeah.
Played great coming home, played like a major champion coming home. And now he's like in it. And that was a little bit the same with Rory. If you swap what was the length of the putt he made on 14, like 35 feet?
Yeah, something like that.
If you swap that with the 3-footer he missed on 8, it makes the round makes more sense, right? To where it's like, oh, well, he kind of lost one there, but he got one back on 14. And yeah, I don't know. I do think it's a round that in the past, maybe he shoots 74 and we're talking about him being completely out of it. And I'm excited that he has an opportunity to shoot 65, 66 on Friday and maybe play his way back into it.
Not currently in that 5-stroke range is Jon Rahm, a 3 over 74 for the Spaniard, in which the round featured very little positives. A 3 on 10. That's the only birdie he made on the day. Offsets that with 4 bogeys, including one at the last, that pop bunker in which he had to play sideways or backwards. It just Rahm put himself in a lot of awkward spots that do not lend themselves to scoring opportunities.
Yeah, it felt like he was going to turn his round around there in the middle when he made birdie on 10. I think he had a look on, was it 11? I think it was 11. He had like I think that was right. He had it tight and Rory headed out to the right, missed that one, and then just I don't know. He just is not playing. He's not playing necessarily horribly, but it's just not to the level that we're used to with Rahm. And he's another guy that off the tee can get into some trouble at times in ways that are pretty detrimental on this golf course.
He hit it to 6.5 feet on 11 and missed the putt.
Yeah, that's where it felt like I thought he was going to turn it around and maybe shoot 1-2 under.
And on 12, he hit it into the pop bunker in the fairway, played it backwards, then played it onto the green.
Yeah, that was sick. Honestly, this felt like the round that Rory could have shot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Rory got those back-to-back birdies, and then saves par at 18. Rahm misses the first birdie opportunity, gives a stroke up on the next hole, hitting into the fairway bunker, and does not get up and down on 18. There's like 3 shots right there. That's it. That's the difference between those 2 rounds.
Rahm will finish T9, but never really have a chance to win the tournament.
Right. Certainly with a chance to win the tournament is Max Homa, which is nice to see. He has not been playing a ton of great golf, and his major championship history is okay. Probably a little bit lackluster considering the type of golfer we want Max Homa to be. A 3 under 68 in which he made just 1 bogey. It came on number 9, the par 3. Homa, I'd have to go back and look, but I don't remember when's like the last time he's been in one of these. Like,
didn't he play well in the first round at LACC? I thought he was like 2 under and then shot like 77 in round 2 or something like that. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. He was in it. Yeah, because he did like a flash interview on Thursday because he was like in it. And then he was like gone in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, so certainly not out of the woods in terms of making the cut here. But yeah, it was certainly better than what he's done at majors in the past. Do you think this is a course that sets up well for his game?
Good question. I don't know. I don't think it's great for him, but I don't think it's necessarily bad for him. I think he's a very strategic, thoughtful golfer who can put together some creative short game shots, but I don't know if he is in his current form a strong enough ball striker for this place. There was a time like 6 months ago where remember when he was when he was just like flushing everything, and I would feel a lot better if he was in that form now. I don't know. It's a good question.
Are you worried more off the tee or with his iron play?
Kind of a little bit of both, but probably off the tee.
Yeah. He's regressed off the tee, yeah.
Yeah, he's just, I mean, or maybe this is the baseline and he got hot for whatever that was. You know what I mean? So I don't know if he's regressed or he just had a great hot run, but yeah, it's definitely different now than it was.
I just think, I mean, if you're a top 15 guy, top 10, top 20 guy, whatever you are, at some point you got to play your way into, I mean, this is what we yell about Patrick Cantlay for not doing. You got to play your way into a major, right? Just if you win, awesome. If not, at least you get the feeling of like being in a major, and that's what you want to see from. Honestly, that's what you want to see from Cantlay, because as many majors as he's played in, he still hasn't done it, and he's in the Koepka zone. He was 1 under, but you want to see that from Homa as well. Not everybody's going to be a Morikawa and win 2 of their first 8. Not everybody's going to be a Wyndham Clark and win 1 of his first 10. most guys are going to be more like this, where you play and play and play your way into major championships, and eventually maybe you win one, but you have to play your way in. Well, you don't have to, but historically you usually do play your way in, and then you win one later on. So I think it's a good first step for him to kind of get a little bit in the mix over the next 3 days to have that feel.
Yeah, make us talk about you. Make us think about you. Justin Thomas, barring the lowest round ever shot at a major championship, is not going to be around for the weekend because he shot an 82 on Thursday. That KP featured a quadruple bogey 9 on 18. That wasn't really he was bad before that. He was 7 over going to 18. This is now his second round in the 80s at the last two. The last 2 rounds at major championships are 81, 82.
Yeah, 2 rounds in the 80s and 1 made cut in the majors this year.
And the other events haven't been that good either.
No, he's unequivocally lost. And we don't need to talk Ryder Cup today, but you can talk me into him not, you can talk me into some stuff there in a way that I don't know that I would have thought I would consider before. So we'll talk about that later. But, Rick, I think what's really interesting, and I would love to hear your take on this, is golf is most other sports. You think about football, basketball, soccer, these different games that we watch. You can, when you're struggling mentally, you can out athleticism, you can out jump, you can outrun your problems. Right. Sort of the equivalent here is like Rick Ankiel not being able to throw a strike, right? Where you're just Chuck Knobloch to second base, just mentally and this is not specific to JT, but when you're lost, you can't do anything physically to overcome it. You're just lost. And I think that as bad as that feels for JT right now, I think it'll actually provide depth for him as a character, as a historical character in golf going forward. And he doesn't want to hear that right now. And that feels terrible right now. But I think that'll actually be a meaningful thing, because everybody, you think about Shane Lowry the year before he won in Portrush. He was, there was some story where he was crying in his car. He was like, why do I play golf? That whole deal. Rory, before he won in 2014 here at Royal Liverpool, he said, this was at 13 at Muirfield when Phil Mickelson won. He said, I'm brain dead. This is the lowest that it's ever been for me professionally. And so these things usually precede stretches of really great golf from guys that are all-time greats. I think JT's, I don't know if he's an all-time great, but I think he has the potential to be. And he'll eventually get out of it. And I think it will provide really good context and depth for him as a figure in the future.
Golf, much like pitching in baseball, it is not reactionary, right? There's too much thinking in it. You see this all the time in basketball. It's these guys are just making reactionary moves to where the ball is and what to do. It all happens so quick. There's no time to think. It is just ingrained. A quarterback is going through his progressions, but a pitcher stands there and thinks, oh man, okay, what's my release point and what am I trying to do? And golf is very similar in that way, because there's too much time to think. And he is clearly, this is not physical. This is a mental something that is going on that he is going to have to work through.
Yeah. And there could be some physical component. I've heard some hints of different injuries. There's nothing that's confirmed or that he's talked about, but at the very least, I would say it's mostly mental, and that's tough. And it's something that every great play, think about Tiger shooting 80 in the first round at Chambers Bay, every great player, every player ever has gone through it. It's very difficult when it's you that's going through it.
I'm interested to see what he does tomorrow, because we did not see him. So he shot the 81 at LACC on Friday. And then it was, so it'll be interesting to see, like, what does he do mere hours after, I think, because he was late early, right? So we're going to see JT in action, like, momentarily.
Well, yeah. And I think people think that he can sometimes get pissy and melancholy and whatever. I think he's got a little bit more grit than people give him credit for. Like, I think he cares about grinding. He's been around Tiger too much. He's been around Rory too much to not for grinding not to be a meaningful thing. And so I think that'll be actually depending on what he shoots, I think that could be one of the cool storylines from Friday, is him just grinding towards something low to try to even get close to the cut.
Let's zoom out. Josh, give us the betting board here. 3 at the top at 5 under. Lamprecht, Tommy Fleetwood, Emiliano Grillo. 4 under. How about this? Antoine Rosner, Adrian Otegi, and Brian Harmon. How about your 3s? Stuart Sink, Wyndham Clark, Alex Noren, Max Homa, Shubhankar Sharma, and Michael Stewart. I went to high school with a Michael Stewart. This is not him. That's your top 12. Quick mental math on wins. Not a lot. The betting favorite, according to our friends over at Caesar Sportsbook right now, is Tommy Ladd, 5.5 to 1. Scottie Scheffler, who resides 4 shots off the lead, has the second shortest odds, 6.5 to 1. Rory McIlroy, 5 off the pace, 10 to 1. Jordan Spieth, 3 off the pace, 16 to 1, along with Wyndham Clark, who is at 3 under. Then you can get into the big boys lurking of Koepka, Cantlay, Homa, Victor, Xander. It's a very fascinating board.
It is. This is a little disrespectful to Brooks, no?
18 to 1 for the guy who has been let's see. Well, let's put it this way. Okay, so both Brooks and Scottie are 1 under. Is Scottie 3 times as likely to win this as Brooks Koepka is? No. Then it is disrespectful. And I agree with you. That is absolutely absurd.
I mean, Brooks is a 5-time major winner. And he won one this year.
Yeah. And also he finished second at another one.
I was talking to somebody, we were texting yesterday before the tournament started, just about, I think Brooks is around this number coming in, like on like before play started on Thursday. And he's like, that's a clown show. Like, that guy should not be 18, 20 to 1 going into any major, and I thought he played a major champion like second 9 today. And does that mean he's going to go on to win the tournament? No, but I certainly don't think he should be 3 times less likely to win than, I don't think he is 3 times less likely to win than Scottie Scheffler, or even twice as unlikely as Rory.
Yeah, I agree with you. That does not feel. I mean, he's got a shot on Rory with 3 rounds to go,
and he's twice as likely.
Yeah,
or twice as unlikely. Whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, half as likely. Yeah, it's a little messed up. I would bet.
Should send this to him,
Brooks. Yeah. Oh my God. Could you imagine? What if tomorrow he shoots a 66? He's like, listen, I was listening to the first cut. And these,
I will bet, I'll give you any amount of money that he will not say that.
Oh God, could you imagine if I could get him to say that? Like, if I just like listen, I need one favor, like, forever.
I'll give you 1 to 1,000,000 odds that he will not say
it. Is there anybody like the problem is, so where's Xander at? Xander's at 1 under. Yeah, you're going to start to pile up like too many guys. If you think you got to be within 5, you're kind of running out of names. So,
like, come on. Patrick Cantlay and Brooks are basically the same number, and they're both 1 under. Get out of here with that.
Yeah, I do not like that. I think Brooks is like the bet right now.
Yes. And Hovland, I think, is pretty interesting at 20 also. He's kind of sneaking around. He might pull a Cam Smith after Cam Smith pulled a Cam Smith on him last year.
That would be pretty cool. What anything happened today that we should talk about before we get out of here?
The Sepp Straka shot.
Stupid.
If people haven't seen it, I posted it. The Open Twitter account posted it. It was on 18, and he took on this bunker and hit it like into the. It looked like into the ridge, where if it falls back, it's in the bunker, but it fell forward and went in. It was a filthy shot.
I do. Yes, it was so sick. I do wonder, like, as he's lining it up, like, what does he think? Does he think, hey, I'm trying to get this on the green and I'm trying to get this within 10 feet? Or does he think, if I hit, I could probably make this? Can't be thinking I can make this.
No. Yeah, he kind of downplayed it. I read his comments afterwards and he was like, yeah, I chipped it in. You're like, that was like the best shot I've ever seen from that distance. Listen, I've never been more convinced of anything than that this leaderboard on Sunday afternoon is going to be freaking awesome, because I think that you've got so many monsters lurking, and they're lurking on a course that I think plays into the hands of guys that are great ball strikers, the best strategists, and the best thinkers. And you got a lot of those guys that are just a couple of shots back, and they're going to be chasing, I think, Tommy. And I think that's one of the templates, is a first-time guy trying to win in his home country. Like, there's all this momentum for Tommy, and it's going to be the most emotional next 3 days of his life, with Rory, Brooks, Scheffler, Hovland, Cantlay, Xander, Spieth coming after him. I think that could be the final top 8 on your leaderboard. Like, I genuinely, like, I don't think that so many of these, like Antoine Rosner and all these guys, are going to be in the maybe they will. I am convinced that the big boys are going to rise to the top by the end of the weekend.
From your lips to the golf god's ears, because that would be sick. I'd be very excited for that. All right. I think we're gonna put a pin in this. We're gonna continue this conversation. What's that?
Who's your pick right now?
I don't think Tommy wins. My dark horse, and I liked it. Like, I know it's weird, but if I removed everybody's name, I think there's a really good chance Wyndham Clark wins.
I know.
Which is like, if I could just remove what I know about everybody in the field, I think Wyndham Clark wins.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. This is actually kind of tough, because I don't know if I'm like super confident in Homa. I mean, I think Spieth is interesting, but he might be gone tomorrow for all I know. Like,
who can say? Yeah.
So I guess I'll go Wyndham Clark. I think Wyndham Clark's going to win.
I don't, mostly because I don't know who else to pick. I think if I had to pick somebody, I would say Fleetwood. But it's more so because I don't really know out of Scheffler, Koepka, Rory, Hovland. Like, I don't know who to Spieth. I don't know who to pick out of those guys. So it's more like, well, I guess I'll just default to Fleetwood.
Right. Imagine how uncomfortable you would be as a Fleetwood backer on the 65th hole. Right. Like, I would just be so uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. Yes. There's so many opportunities, and whatever we talked about on Tuesday about the awkward tee shots, like, the guys are just so uncomfortable on these tee shots.
Awesome.
Which is sick. Yes, it is awesome. And so you get a lot of variability. I'm way in on this golf course. I think it's freaking awesome. I'm pumped about the next 3 days.
Well, get set for 15 more hours of golf starting in 9 hours. 8 hours. In 8 hours, 15 more hours of golf will start. And then in like 23 hours, we'll do this podcast again. That's the schedule. Big thanks to producer Josh. Does all the hard work behind the scenes. Kyle Porter, available on Twitter for all your comments and suggestions at Kyle Porter CBS. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.